Hi everybody, Rachel here from Rachthestamper.com, and this is another of the Fun Fold series for our February Club to Go. So you probably saw me make this one live once before. This is a really simple card to make, but it looks really fun, and it only uses one base card. So this part here is actually the other part up top here. So I did use some of the really beautiful In Good Taste DSP, which this one was a little bit harder to work with, and I kind of went with the color scheme. So I just used navy and Sahara sand for this. And I think it turned out really well. So I'm going to show you how to make this. I have my two card colors. I did bring in a different stamp set for this. I used the little pattern and then the floral image, but I wanted something extra. So I brought in Enjoy the Moment, which has a lot of really neutral. You can use them for anything. I want to do this also in a really bright card coming up in the future, so stay tuned for that. If you are on my YouTube channel, if you follow me, you'll find out when that happens. But we're going to get started with this card. It's very simple. So you have your pack, which has all the pieces, and if you wanted to create this again, you would be able to do so if you follow the instructions on the PDF that I sent. You will notice that I kind of put these together in order so you would know. So this is your inside panel. And this is the white piece that goes inside. You can see that here. Then you have the piece that goes with your wood DSP laid this way. And then you have finally the piece that goes on the front. The only thing that's missing is the blue, which we're going to create right now. So I'm going to move these over. All right, so for this, I'm going to go ahead and score this. I didn't do that. So I'm going to score this at 4 1/4, just like so. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take the corner here, this will be the top of your card, and you're going to move it to 2 3/4, which is halfway of this card. And we're going to actually cut to the score line. So you can kind of do one of two things. You can start at the score line or you can go down to it. So what I usually do is I will make sure that this will move up and down a little bit, this little clear acrylic piece. So I'll make sure it's pulled all the way down. And I'm going to line, and I actually want to show you this just for a second, but there's a little line right here on the side, which is why I have this white piece of paper taped underneath, so you can actually see if you're lining it up right with that. So that's 4 1/4, so you can line this line right up with that. So that does make it helpful when you're doing intricate cuts like these. So again, I'm going to move this back to line it up at 2 3/4, and 4 1/4 will be the halfway mark. So I'm going to put 4 1/4, and I'm going to score up. Okay, then I'm going to lift this, turn, and all I'm going to do is line my my score mark up on the cutting platform. And same thing again, you can slide it down to cut, and you will notice, you can kind of hear it, it will make a pop right when it gets to the spot where it's out. So then this piece is the piece that you're going to use to lay over top, just like so. So that's pretty much it. Everything else is already cut for you. So all we're going to do is I'm going to fold this over. And one other thing I like to do is I like to make sure that I follow my crease line up here, because sometimes when you cut, you can get a little bit of a line that sticks out. So I just like to make sure that's nice and flat. If you ever get a line on your card as well, you can kind of go on the opposite side and just flatten it out, and it'll make it nice and smooth for your card. Okay, so we have that. This is going to go on top of it here. And then this piece is going to go on top of that here. Okay, and then this will go to the inside, and we just have to stamp this. So we're going to do our decorative pieces first. So this is going to go on the side. This one doesn't have any stamping. It's going to just sit here. And you know what? I did that once again. I hope I didn't do that for your pieces. I'm looking. Let me make sure, because I might have cut this one off just a smidge. I feel like I should have cut this. I do apologize. I was having some major cutting dilemmas when I did these. This is so embarrassing that it's even like this here. This is 2 3/4, and yeah, 2 3/4. I have to just trim just a smidge off of this. I must have been talking to somebody when I cut this one, because it needs to come down just a little bit. So 2 3/4, it'll be 2 5/8 is what it should have been. And then this one would be right on top. And this should be 2 1/2. I'll trim just a smidge. Nope, there wasn't even anything to trim off of that one. Okay, had that one right. Oh, so sorry about that. You know, unfortunately, we all make mistakes. So I'm going to stamp this first. I'm going to attempt to do all of my crumb cake stamping. So that will be this piece doesn't need anything. These two need a little something. So I have my little blocks are going to go here. So again, this is Sahara Sand. I just re-inked this, so you might notice it looks a little darker than it did when I did it the first time. I kind of just tried to change up my pattern just a little bit so it wasn't exactly matching. The other thing I did is, and you can do this if you'd like, I went around this with my Sahara Sand marker. So if you wanted to do that, I usually will just take the brush tip and kind of go around like that. It just gives an extra level of, it makes it look like it has more to it with distinguishing it from the layer that's underneath. So that was pretty simple for that piece. Now this one is actually going to get this little, I don't know what you would even call this, floral image. You really only need it around the side, so don't even waste your time doing the inside because you're not going to see it. So this just kind of gave a little distinction. Again, if you want to skip this step, you could, and you could just use your marker to kind of give a little something. But basically, this is going to just layer onto there, so you can see there's a little distinction of that, okay? So we have those two pieces, so I'll move those over. So this is our inside panel. I'm going to put this on the side. So you can see up top here, I kind of just spread these around. One, have my monkey balls, and I definitely want my sentiment. So if you wanted to, you could do your sentiment in the same color, and you know what, I think I'm going to change this to navy for that side. So we'll go with navy there, and then I also have these little nut figures. So since I have my little, whatever these little seed pods are, I guess, put these kind of randomly a couple places. That looks good. Okay, so put my Sahara Sand away. And then I want to clean this off because we're going to use this again with the navy. All right, so I'm going to add my sentiment first. All right, and then we'll add our little seed dudes all over. That's good for that one. And then on the inside, I also have my sentiment and then the other little doodads. Okay. Looks good. And finally, now you can certainly kind of par this down a little bit if you want to add your somewhere for you to write. So you could certainly leave this maybe not quite as much with the blue, or leave yourself more space. Or the other thing you can do is you can always add something to the inside. You could omit one of your decorative pieces if you want a little bit more writing room. But I really like adding the something to this card, because I think a lot of times when I finish a card, I don't think I finish it as much as I would like to. So that's kind of up to you. So now all we really have to do is put these layers together. So we'll do this one first. This will be our front panel, which are these two. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this down. Nice part about this paper is you can always use both sides of it. It has a really nice color pattern. The palette is beautiful. The patterns are beautiful. I'm going to layer this on top right here. So you have a little, just a little border, not a lot. All right, then I'm going to put this on the inside, and I'm going to put my sentiment in last. And the reason being is I want it to be that the front panel kind of almost hides what it says on the inside. So you can see it just looks like another border here. So I really want to make sure I line this part up before I put that white part in. So I'm going to close this. We're going to just put these together. And I'm actually going to put this on here with dimensionals. I know I made a little goof here, so I'm going to show you. In case you happen to do that, something that you can do to fix it fairly easily is, if you have a shimmer pen, So this is a Nuvo shimmer pen, or if you might have a Wink of Stella pen. If you take this, which actually has, it will kind of spread your pigment color. It's kind of like a blender pen, but with sparkle. You can kind of almost fill in some of your color that you might have botched up, unless you want to go to the trouble of restamping it again. But you can almost kind of spread your color around a little bit, and it'll give you a little bit more dimension to it. So that's a good idea. That works much better if you do it when it's actually freshly stamped, but it still will work good enough to do that if you wanted to. So I'm going to flip this over. And worst case scenario, as I do, you can always add a little embellishment to it to cover something up if you make a mistake. Okay, so these layer, you can see they layer really nicely together. Now I'm going to grab, kind of just eyeballing this first, okay? So I want to set it down. So you want them to be really below. So I'm going to put them here because it's almost a little bit easier. And put one in the middle for me to center it this way versus figuring out where I want to put them. But one other trick when you have these, and maybe you might need a little wiggle room, is if you take your liquid glue and you just put it doesn't need to be a lot, just a teeny bit of liquid glue. And then I'm going to actually put this down with liquid glue too. So what you can do is you can kind of set this, line it up. You have that little bit of maneuverability if you need to adjust it. And then I'm going to take this gently and open it. And I'm going to put it where I think is in the center. Nope, it needs to go up a little bit, see? So I'm going to go up a little bit. So it almost looks like just a teeny bit of a border for that. So it goes all the way around, which I think is really, really, really fun. So then I'm going to make sure I give this a nice press so those stay with the dimensionals and this stays, and there you have it. Really simple card, a nice neutral color palette. This would be great for anyone to receive a card. Be a great card even if you needed to transfer something maybe into some sort of a sympathy card, but does have a lot of visual interest, but it's not really like a crazy in-your-face kind of card. So sometimes I like those as sympathy cards too, because they do make beautiful and very easy cards to create. So I will have, again, all the measurements for this on the blog. If you have any questions about anything, if for some reason my paper didn't measure up correctly to you, please let me know. I do apologize for that. But basically, this is a very easy card to duplicate in, again, any color scheme, any theme, any paper, any type of stamp set that you're using is really easy to replicate and make a lot of other cards from. So thank you so much for watching and for purchasing the February 2021 card kit to go. I really do appreciate your support. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I did making it. Thanks for watching.